Pleasure introducing him. Like a true Italian, Mr. Morando lives and breathes design to the hilt. He's constantly striving to raise the bar and pushing the boundaries, ensuring the product is aligned with the design aspiration. Mr. Morando has worked with Zaha Hadid Architectures and has multiple awards, publication, lecturers, exhibitions, and citations to his credit. I'm not stretching things up, better you take it forth yourself. Have a pleasureful one.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm an Italian architect, and I'm based now in India for 4 years and a half. And so my journey started pretty much 20 years ago, and since then I started to build this idea that design is something that grows along with you. So I believe that design is, at the end of the day, is a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey because it's a process. It's never something which is static, which is about the aesthetic. It's also about aesthetic, but what is more important for me and what I learned that makes the difference in the design is the process. And it's a process because it's something that never stops. Or let's say you decide when your process is going to be over. But it's a journey also because it takes you to interact with people, it takes you to design for people. And also sometimes you are requested to understand the place. We were talking about before the culture, how important it is to understand the locality of the places. And today, more than ever, we are also witnessing a constant reference to nature as a source of inspiration. And across this journey that I will take you through very briefly, we see how nature can actually inspire in a metaphoric way. And definitely, talking about design, design has to have something which is related with material, because the design is a process that has to be built so that people can enjoy, can experience it. So if we talk about people, I feel in the last decade something quite interesting is happening. There is a huge important shift the way people are interacting within the industry, and I'm talking about the capability of especially young designers, young generations, to create a network which goes beyond the well-established, organized firm. And this is quite important. It's important because it's changing the way we design. So obviously it's about individuals, because at the end of the day, we work with our mind, but it's the way we are connected together, the way we are capable of creating a network between us that makes the difference. And this is already somehow happening. The hierarchical corporations, architectural firms, which are also part of my past experiences, are going to change, are actually changing. We are going beyond that status of one-man show where the big architect is giving the vision and people are following, because there are a lot of networks, not a lot of young architects, designers, creative people who are working from different places, from different countries, and they are still working together. So it means that something is changing. And if we want this change to happen, we need to think of changing the rules, because we can't expect to work like 20 years ago, because the way the tools we have allows us changing and designing in a different way. And taking advantage of something which previous generation didn't have. The capability, the possibility to be connected in real time all across the world and create a team which not necessarily need to sit in the same office. So this is something that obviously takes you to the next level. So when you start interacting like this, there is more intersection, more interaction of skills, competencies, and people and journey. So what I was talking about journey, and my journey today has taken me here, but I'm coming from all the way from some other place, and today I'm interacting with people which are coming from South Africa, from North Europe, but I'm still sitting in India. This very short journey today is about few projects, couple of projects, which are interested to me as a designer for the process. Not much for the aesthetic, but for the process that it was put in place to understand how to make it happen. So places is something that we every day as architects, as designers, we have to deal with. So we know that the entire planet is somehow like a big, huge terrain which is covered by a mesh. And this mesh is shaping the valleys, the peaks, every single spaces. And if out of this mesh we select one area, we actually have the chance to understand within this area what are the grids which we can work with. So Tecton is the name of an installation that we designed for this design week, which is trying to understand how the grid can be manipulated. How we can understand what is hidden in the place, and how that hidden value can come up. So if we think of manipulating this grid, and we were given an area in Kochi, in the city center, very crowded. It's an area that today is empty, belongs to a developer that someday he will build it. So we were trying to give, to express the hidden power, forces which are latent in that place that one day will be built. So we imagine that these forces are pulling up, are creating this kind of manipulation on the ground that can be translated into a kind of operation that is creating a fracture. Fracture is the metaphor of any architectural design intervention. After something is built, that place is never be the same again. What we do is permanent, and any architecture intervention is creating a permanent damage to our earth, to this crust of the earth. And this is interesting how then we can say maybe the landscape will emerge, the sculpture will emerge from the ground, and this fracture that I was talking about can be revealed through a light which is hidden underneath. So it's just a metaphor of how we can reveal what are the hidden forces in a place. What is interesting in this is the design process for the manufacturing. So we thought that a smart way to speed up the process could be that working on with some parametric software that helps us to optimize the material usage. The material that is going to be used here is plywood, and so there is a structure underneath which is completely modifiable as per parameters that we set. So what is the logic? This parametric definition with Grasshopper can be applied at any place in the world, and according to the local parameters that we can set, the geometry of this installation can change. So every place has a different output. And obviously it also helps us to do the laser cut job, to optimize the panelization and the paneling and everything. One more project that tells something about the place. It's an installation done for the Milan Design Week a few years ago, where we were requested to create a temporary community in a space which was completely empty and abandoned. It was not used. It was in the outskirts of the city. And so we were challenged to understand, how can I create a temporary community if nothing is there? So we designed 3 modules as modules that can be aggregated and generate endlessly an installation that helps people to interact with. So there are 3 modules, one for laying down, one for sitting, and one for as a shelter that will be designed with some fabric, the material and the structure is not actually the point of this talk. It's more about the capability of creating a temporary community. It's the capability of attracting people where there is nothing. And actually that happens because after the first day, people came to know about it and they came to spend their time in this place. That was then moved to a gallery. In the art gallery, that created a way for artists and performers to interact with the installation. So it's again the power of simple, very straightforward intervention, how this can enhance, facilitate the interaction. And people were doing some yoga, people just performing and playing, and kids also playing, hiding within the structure. There is something else which we said at the beginning. Design is a journey that might take you in touch with the nature, or nature can be your source of inspiration. Source of inspiration means understanding the rule behind the natural formation, the rule behind the elements that drive nature. So helix is an attempt of using a natural creeping plan, which in Latin is helix. We studied the geometry of the leaf. We set up a parameter, few parameters to understand how these leaves can be manipulated and how out of these leaves, out of this geometry, I can create a pattern that after few iterations, applications, can generate something which is copying the rule of the plant, the way the plant grows. A creeping plant grows seamlessly on walls, on ceiling, or on any surface. So this is the intent of this installation, to explain that sometimes you don't need to copy the aesthetic of a plant, but you need to understand the way the plant grows, apply the same rules, and those rules will be the actual link to your metaphor. So this is a breakup, a technical detail of this installation, how this is going to unfold on the wall, on the ceiling, which I'll show you in the next slide, and how the process is also borrowing rules from a parametric approach transferred to the manufacturing, to the making, because we used CNC machines to create this, to optimize the wastage, and using a material which by definition is very polluting, is extruded polystyrene, but we used a polystyrene which is somehow sustainable. It's fully sustainable. It's made by core. And this is some picture of the assembly process. And this is the result. What you see is something which is emerging from the floor, from the wall, is depth, it's varying, and then unfolds on the ceiling. So out of an installation, at the next year in Milan, we were able to make actually a product. So that became a bookshelf, and that became a false ceiling that was used for acoustic purposes, was used also for some aesthetic purposes in a couple of offices. And so you see how this is completely seamlessly unfolding. No matter what is the surface, that can grow. And there is also, you see here how that growing and emerging from the wall is happening. There is also something about materials. Actually, also this project was all about material and process to understand that there is a smart way of using materials, taking advantage of the material constraints and taking advantage of the contemporary technology to make it done, to get it done. If I wanted to do this job in plywood, it would have taken double the time, twice the budget, and also with many technical constraints to hang it on the wall and on the ceiling. In EPS, it's extremely light. We finish it with some resin, with some painting, and it's extremely light. It's 800, every module is 650 width, and is less than 8 kg. When we talk about materials, so I again want to take you with the material. I mean, I want to talk to you about this material, EPS, because it's very unusual material for the interior design and for the design industry. It's most of the time used for molding, is for packaging, never used to create products. It's never used to create furniture. When we met the company, the manufacturer, it was actually by chance. We started to explore the potential of this material. Today, the company is one of the best company specialized in complex interiors, because after that project, they started to explore a little bit more what is the potential of the material. How can I use it and create lightweight furniture, lightweight products, and very affordable cost-wise. This is one more product. This is an installation. It started to be as an installation. And the goal given was we need to optimize the material. We can't waste so much of material. It has to be light and has to be transportable in a very short time. So we made 50 pieces, which were supposed to be shipped to Milan in a couple of days. So the process is okay. The massing and everything, the way we come up with the geometry is something that we derived from the process to understand how the CNC machine can mill this product, minimizing the wastage and the time and the time for getting manufactured. Our inspiration was the Baroque columns. So that idea of creating a movement out of solid and voids. So these solid and voids became something which was transferred on the massing in a product that looks like this, which then became a way, an occasion for us to talk together with fashion designers, to exhibit their shoes. This is a Spanish fashion shoe designer, or bags. And also we made something else for a winemaker with bottles and everything. This is the process. So these are some material testing to understand how this edge, how the material carved out could be easily done by a CNC machine like this, which is fully relying on the information you give. So the machine is not doing the job. I mean, it's making the job, but the design parameters, the design inputs are obviously given by the designer. Then there are projects who are tremendously important because they make this journey to happen in one go. And that happens especially in more complex projects where more stakeholders are involved, and that might be in some interiors. Marquis Club is a project for a club in Bangalore. The challenge given was the place, the special constraints, budget, and material to be used. So what we did, why I'm saying we find here everything. The journey is somehow taking all these components together, because we wanted to refer this club to the location where it is supposed to be. It was built, which is in the very busy area of the city, extremely chaotic for noise pollution, acoustic pollution, so much traffic, so many people passing by. And this hotel is sitting in the middle of the outer ring road. So we wanted to transfer the complexity, the dynamicity of the space into this interior, absorbing a couple of ideas. So before we saw, in the first project, we saw tecton. We saw how the grid generated by the geography of the place can be a source of inspiration or something to play with. Here we took another grid, which is the architectural grid generated by the building. And how can I transform, manipulate the grid in order to generate something else, which through lights, through materials, through inlays on the floor, and moving the design focus from the ground to the ceiling, change completely the perspective. It's something that when you walk around across a city, you always look up. When you have high building, you barely see where are you walking to. So you are attracted by so many things happening around you in a city where there are a lot of noise, inputs, visual inputs from the branding, from the lights. So this club asks you to change your approach. In a club, you never see the floor. Sorry, you never see the ceiling. You always focus your attention on the floor and what you see around. In this is actually happening the opposite. So through lights, marble, natural materials, we design this. So definitely, yes, what I feel, design is a journey. Can be beautiful if you are able to combine all these components together. If through this component, people, material, spaces, nature, you are able to innovate. And innovation doesn't come because you have great ideas, but it's because you explore. And paths which are not used to be taken in that manner. And because sometimes the material used, for instance, are not even the one you have, right away. You need to think differently. You need to approach the process in a different way so that unusual materials can be borrowed and taken in a different, utilized in a different manner. Thank you.